and in Europe, building companies. I wanted to make a difference. And I wanted to make a difference back home. Always felt I wanted to get back to India. 20-hour days, I've always been just very addictive. I'm a very addictive personality. If I get into something, I just put everything I got.
Good day, everyone. This is Max and Lewis, your host on Max on Mobility. And today we have a very dynamic leader in the EV space. Someone who I believe has been doing one of the best things to EV, is bringing a charisma around it. Uday Narang, founder of Omega Seiki Mobility. This is a day I've been waiting for. Thank you so much for joining us on Max on Mobility. How does it feel to be on the hot seat?
Man, it just, what they say in Hindi, Ghar Wapsi. I came here when you started this game, and to see where Magenta has done, what you have done, Daryl, obviously, and the entire men and women of, Magenta Mobility, and to see the success. But the biggest thing is to see, what you're making a difference in green energy and sustainability. I'm really proud to see, all of you do so well and build such great companies. So really, I'm excited to be here, and thank you for the invite.
Thank you so much. And that's one of the things about you. You've always been magnanimous to others. You've been always talking about everyone else. And today I'm trying to make it a big difference. Is we want to know the person behind it, right? So this is not going to be a conversation about EV. There will be some touches here around there about Omega Seiki and a lot of other things. But people have asked me, we tried to ask questions to people. Uday is coming to Max on Mobility. What do they want to know? The answer was the man behind the man. And that's what we're trying to kind of
very much.
No, onion. So let's try and do that. Sure. If there's any way I could introduce, I think you are the charismatic person in the EV space, but someone I was just tracking your past record. You're doing absolute stock trading for years on Wall Street, right? And then you set up companies, and now you've set up a brilliant company, Omega Seiki. How did it all happen? How did you land up here in the EV space and building up while you could have made a lot more money doing trading?
Sure. I went to the United States when I was very young. Actually, I went to the United States because, my girlfriend, when we were young, she said, I'm going to the United States. And I said, well, okay, I'll go there too. And when I went down there, I said, well, man, this has got so much opportunity here. I'll learn here. She came back and I just stayed back. But coming back to what I did, listen, I had an opportunity to be one of the world's largest commodity trader. I built some very, very significant funds. But, working close to 20, 25 years in the United States and in Europe, building companies, I wanted to make a difference. And I wanted to make a difference back home. Always felt I wanted to get back to India. I remember about going through Lehman crash, but before that, the Enron crash. I've seen some very interesting times. We made a lot of money at a very young age on Wall Street. I'll be honest, money just came. I was at the right time at the right place. I worked hard, but sitting in Mount Street in my hedge fund about 10 years ago, I thought about, we were putting 20-hour days. I've always been just very addictive. I'm a very addictive personality. If I get into something, I just put everything I got. I don't look at anything else but, with an eye on where we need to get to. I wanted to make a difference. I thought, I want to go back to India. I look at Junjunwalaji, the guy was such a rock star. He made so much money. And, he did so much. But can I tell you something? Very few people remember him today. I'm nowhere even close to what the money and work that he did. But I think there's more to life than money, and I wanted to come back. I wanted to make a difference. Green energy and sustainability was something that I was part of building the carbon credit market in Europe. I was part of deregulation of electricity. Apart from I traded oil, I saw the difference where metals, when they come from Africa or Latin America, and the pollution that creates, and it made me to come back home. I came back about 10 years ago, not to India, but to Asia, because I thought after so many decades, coming back would be tough. My family business is here it'll be 55 years. I wanted to do something. I wanted to make a change. And we got into, building EVs. I didn't think where we were, this India or anything would be here what it is today. I got into it. I just, it's like a trade. You ask me, you add the biggest and the most successful traders in the world. When they see a trade winning, they add money to it.
Right.
Most people, they buy a stock and then they just figure make a little 10, 15, 20%, and then they get out.
Right.
Warren Buffett is successful because he invests for over 30 to 40 years. And okay, there are opportunities where you take some money off the table, but you got to add to winning trades. And I think I got into EV and I kept seeing the winning trade. I saw the government. I saw, the ecosystem. I saw people like you. I saw the overall environment, and I keep adding money. Next story, I'm still here, and I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this, but it's going to be a long time home.
But would it have been easier because you have a family business, 50 years in the making, stable? You've made money. You come back to India. You could have chosen to join your family business. So, and yet you decided to start something which is new, not only as a company but new as a concept, because EVs were not EVs. That would have taken, as they say, a lot of.
When I you asked me a question, and you asked me, we'll ask a direct question. I don't go home till like midnight till my mom's sleeping, because my mom is on my ear every day about why you keep putting more and more money at an age of, I'll be 55 in September. And I think, look, there was never ever, if you ask me internally, because the steel business is growing. We're doing a few IPOs. You'll see in the steel business over the next couple of months. They've already been, the DRHPs have been filed. So you're right. That business would have been an easy ride. I pushed it. We're doing really well. But I thought, this was something that I told you I have an addictive personality. I need action 20 hours a day. I can't. I'm terrible on a personal relation. Nobody can live with me. Nobody can stay with me. I just need to be in the middle of action. Some people are, you'll ask this question. Why do people do tours of the US soldiers went back to Iraq after tour after tour after tour? Some people are born that way. For me, this is all it is. It's not about being on a golf course. I do like playing sport. I am on the courts all the time. I like fitness. But I think it's something that I need. It drives me, thrives me. Learning, being around people like you, understanding. I do a lot of public speaking. I learn, and learning is the biggest thing, and that's what gives me energy.
Your energy couldn't have given away your age. This is the first time I came to know that. I thought, but energy is something everyone talks about. I've seen you at multiple places, and before I land to the next place, you are there. You've already spoken, moved ahead. That requires a drive, a passion. While you are energetic, and I totally understand that. Many people are energetic, but you have found a passion for that energy. Where did that come from? There has to be something which said, hey, listen, EV is the place. India, I understand, because it's growing. But EV was a big risk. And for a Wall Street trader to put a punt, they're the smartest. They know how to make money. So
Sure.
Indirectly, I'm saying you're smart. So, but then you would have seen something in the EV space in India which made you get in there. What was it?
See, I saw an opportunity. I saw the country. I saw the need. I saw the mood of of the political establishment.
Okay.
I'm not going to say I was just looking at it and made a wild pun. I could just, because I keep a very close ear to the ground. We make mistakes. I'm going to say, we make mistakes sometimes, but one thing I have is a very close ear to the ground, whether it's the political establishment, whether it is, the customer demand, whether it is the overall economic environment. I saw an opportunity where the next and for me, it's not a 1 or 2 or a 3 year plan. It's going to be a 10, 20, 30 year, like I talked about being from a long-term investor. So, we got involved. I got involved in, crypto when crypto was $100 or $200, and it is always, so, in a portfolio, but I thought this space, looking at the overall India environment, looking at the global environment, looking at what was going on in the United States, but specifically, whether it was at the state level or the central level, whether it was at the bureaucracy, whether it was at the Niti Aayog, whether it was at whatever ministries you were seeing, you were going to see a government at the central and the state levels all across this country, that they were going to push this. Now, obviously, you take your boat in the ocean, you need the wind, right? And obviously, if you stay the boat long enough, and I'll tell you this, Max, coming back, you at Magenta Mobility are one of the leaders in this space. You're staying out there. The longer you stay out there, the more the wind you're going to catch the wind, right?
So the wind was there. There were multiple boats. You choose the boat of becoming an OEM and not. So I'm just trying to
madness only, because I thought it's the hardest thing to do.
Right.
I think somewhere somebody told me this is hard, and you're not going to be. I'll tell you, I am so close to the Mani family. Right. I'll give you an example. Chaitan made Reva. Right. And Sandeep Ji is somebody who I just came having a half a day with him. He gives me so much energy. Sandeep Ji is like a father to me. I sat with him. We do steel business with many for a long time. And he said all the experiences that he had at Reva, how difficult it was for them, and how challenging, and how they would never ever get into building vehicles, right? And I said, well, this is a challenge that even if Chaitan, who is the father of EV in this country, can do, well, let me try it. And you know what? I just thought, we'll take I thought, this is the amount of money I'm going to spend on this experiment. I can't tell you, I burn that money every day. What I thought I would put in. So look, I think it was something that, it was a challenge.
Uh-huh.
It was something that I thought if Chaitan couldn't do it, then I still got to do it. And I could take experiences from them. So there was a lot to do because I continually spent time around people that were in this business, why they were not successful. And again, it is a consistent learning. The business today is very different when Reva was there. But I think it was something that I continually want. Look, I also got enough feedback. And I think there was enough momentum. I'm not going to say, I added money when I thought the momentum would be there. It wasn't just blind, putting after. Now, it is a market. It is going to take long term. It requires sustainability. And at that time, Max, the big boys were not there. Apart from, and we're going to open word, I'm going to tell you openly, it was Mahindra and Piaggio.
Right.
And they were not, Bajaj wasn't there. And, many of the others, TVS and, TI wasn't there. So it was a very different market. And I think, even our friend Mr. Bajaj said he'd eat somebody for breakfast. Yes. Right? So he's in the EV system. So I think there was a continuous development. There was a continuous, if you read the cards, I like playing poker. The best thing is you read the cards you read the reactions of people. And I could continually see that. More than that, I thought the adaptability and the ecosystem building. People like yourself, people in the charging space, people at that time, there was not even suppliers of batteries and powertrains. So look, it was something that I just kept, but in my nature, I like taking risks, maybe a bit too many risks, but that's what gives me the energy. That's what when I sleep maybe 4 hours a day. When I go to bed.
You don't sleep at all? I don't.
No. I sleep in the car, but I'll tell you what, it gives me, and I'll tell you more. I saw a lot of young men and women join me in the journey. My turnover is low. My turnover is pretty low. Yes, people have left. My turnover is low. If you ask the people that work for me, I'll take a bullet for them. I always will. And maybe that's a weakness too, because maybe I give too much. But I think it has given me maybe 10, 15, 20 more years of my life that I would have been bored. I don't know what I would have been doing if I was running I'm not going to say the steel business is boring. We're going to do IPO, so I got to charge that up. But I think it was nothing exciting. It's a very professionally run business. It's doing well. We continually grow. But I wanted the challenge. I'm a growth guy.
But then you started in 2018, if I remember right.
Sure.
Right. And COVID happened. Didn't that, at that point in time, you would have thought, hey, listen, this is getting, the bets are getting stretched. What did you go through as a businessman? And I'm not talking about as an EV, a person who is convinced about you, but more from a person who thinks about every rupee and making $10 out of every one. During COVID, what did you think through? I mean, that would have been difficult, right? Continuously convince you, hey, listen, it's coming, it's happening.
First of all, during COVID, my record shows it. I never stayed inside, even one day. I took a pass from the Haryana government. I would go every day to the front lines. I built hospitals. I flew in oxygen plants from Korea. I still have an oxygen plant that today I'm using for some other things than I went for people. But I built massive amount of hospitals during this time. I helped a lot of people. I'll tell you what, during that time, in the history of Omega, I put more investment. So I can tell you, I'll give you an example. I invested into Argentina when Argentina back was on fire. I invested into, many, many countries. And I have learned one thing. I invested in the Thai baht when Thai baht was on the floor. I've invested into the pound when pound was blown up. Every time there is a fire, that's where the opportunity comes. I always will invest. And I'm coming back as a trader, So when COVID came, I think every last dollar that I had, I invested back. And I'm telling you, when people were running away, I cannot tell you how much money. I will tell you, the Omega investment during the COVID years was 20x than ever in our last 35, 40 years. And I thought, because I believed that India was a long-term bet.
Those are the things people don't know about you, and I thought this was the best opportunity to know the person behind.
Thank you.
But one more question, Nasim. This is another. I was about to ask you a question. Since you know where to put the funds, other than the EV industry, what is the next fund you think is, or you think is happening in the ecosystem?
Look, I think everybody know artificial intelligence is something that I think is a very, very interesting opportunity. I think that is something that I am continuously investing personally in. Some related to EV, some not related to EV, machine learning. I have. I do think still there's money in the charging space. I think there's going to be a need for charging infrastructure across this country. I think there are some serious opportunities in the FMGC sector. This country is growing, middle class. I think, I still believe long-term crypto is a good bet. Every sell-off of crypto, this large sell-off in crypto, when Bitcoin went down, I invested again. So look, I will invest in areas where, okay, if you ask me where I'm quietly investing, water. And I'm telling you this right now. This is something I have never, ever, even my PR guys would not know. Water is a commodity that in a bottle, I'm glad that you're not using bottles, you're using these. And I respect that. I saw everywhere. But I tell you what, water is such a scarce product. And I think water, if you look in that bottle of water, costs more than diesel or petrol or anything. I am quietly investing in water reservoirs. It is something that requires long-term investment. There are political ramifications on it. I am globally looking at water as a real long-term, but I'll tell you, all of us need water. And I think it's a very, very limited resource. You are seeing what is happening in Bangalore, what the situation happened here. You see the situation in Delhi. The population continues to grow. And this is something that I'm going to tell you today is going to be a real issue. I have invested in California on serious amount of reservoir over the last 20 years. Now I'm accelerating investments in there. That's something that I put on. Obviously, I believe in the Indian equity market. I think that over the next 10 years, I'm going to tell you, if you see sell-offs because of this global concern right now, you get to 15 to 20%. Look at every area. Different people have different risk portfolios. I don't want to make this a trading but I think that long term, the blue chip Indian companies, there are going to be opportunities in the startup world, that there are listing opportunities. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of companies that are getting listed, which I think are completely useless, right? And in England, we say a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think, I would say to all the investors, study. I was sitting down there before we talked about, you analyzed what area you want to invest in, how you want to take Magenta, and if there's a times to go, move 2 steps back, to move 4 steps forward. I really loved your topic. It's like trading. You look at it, you evaluate. I will tell you, when you get these sell-offs, and you're going through a sell-off right now, with the yen, with yen appreciating. And so I think if there's serious sell-offs in this market, add to it. Over over the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to make serious money.
Wow. That brings me down to the EV ecosystem, which you are one of the biggest protagonists of, right? What's your take on one thing? We have been talking about EV. You and I have been on multiple platforms. You've spoken so much about EVs. Has it grown the way you anticipated it? And very candid, or do you had expected to grow a lot faster? That's one question I want to know. Someone who's been so positive about the industry, what does he really think? Really?
Yeah, yes and no. Let me talk about the no first.
Okay.
I think that in this journey of putting numbers up on the board, including myself, I'll be responsible for it. In this journey of putting more and more numbers up, quicker, faster, somewhere that quality and safety has fallen behind. And it could be anybody. It could be Ola, it could be Ather, it could be OSM, it could be anybody. It could be Piaggio, Mahindra, anybody. Everyone has failed. I don't think there's anyone who can say, I built the best product, because I think in the speed to put up numbers, there has been something that has been lost. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. I'm saying that because customers have now become, am I going to get that service? Am I going to be able to get that quality?
Right.
So, instead of the slow and steady wins the race, the hare and the tortoise story, I think if you look back, maybe a tortoise story would have been better. Okay, if you ask me to look back now, I can't look back. I think it's time all of us change our ways. It's time we align forces and take that approach. I'm very excited to hear exactly what you just said to me, that you want to say, this is what I want to do with Magenta, and this is how I want to take it. Taking 2 steps back is something that is never, ever a bad thing, because you might be 7 or 10 or 100 steps ahead. So I think that is all of us. But, there were battery producers who put batteries out there. They were never 100% right. There were fires. There were powertrain producers. There was everybody in this space that I think did too much too quick. There were logistic players who made commitments and never delivered. There was so much that happened here that we think never ever should have happened and would have taken a longer space. Yes, there was building of the ecosystem. Yes, there was so much as green plates are happening, 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, passenger, drones. Everything's happened in the ecosystem, right? What I wanted to say was that I think looking back, I would have been slower. If I just talk about myself, I don't know. I think the rest of the people in the ecosystem should also have been there.
It takes a lot of guts to say what you just said.
No, it's
a case where everyone wants to say, oh, we are outpacing 10x, 20x, 30x. But you're saying, listen, it could have been done better if it would have been slow. What are the 2 or let's say 3 things in the EV space which should have been done differently? 1, by the government. 2nd, by the OEM. 3rd, by, let's say, public in general. What are one each?
Sure. On the government, all I want is a stable policy. I think what has happened with the government is they've been violators of the FAME policy.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing, right? But if 1 or 2 or 3 people blow the light, they blow the red light. Doesn't mean we all do, right? So what I would like is the government to have, and I say this to all the government, people that I meet. I speak this to the DIO. I speak this to the Department of Heavy Industries. Have a consistent policy. Are we going to have FAME? Are we not going to have FAME? Are we going to have EMPS? How long it's going to be EMPS? I don't think having 2-month policies is good for the industry. As a businessman, as an investor, I need a 5-10-year policy. Look at the United States. Look at Europe. Look at Japan. Look at Korea. They make a long-term commitment. Okay, there are violators there too, but that does not mean we stop. So as a government, I want a stable policy, whether we're going to have it or not. If we're not going to have it, let's just say we're not going to have it, right? But just because, we don't have clarity. See, to set up a policy doesn't take this long. You've got to sit down, you've got to have it. And I think this is something that we really need to sort of, I would request from the government. Please have a clear policy for OEMs, clear policy for, whether it's a Delhi subsidy. There's no Delhi subsidy being paid. That's wrong, right? When was the Delhi subsidy being paid? I'm being very straight up. I think that needs to happen.
Right.
Number 2, you talked about,
OEMs. What should they have done?
OEMs should have built the ecosystem, should have looked at, done more testing, should have done product. And I think that is the entire industry. I don't think whether it's the incumbents or the startups, everyone should have had more safety. Everyone should have done more testing. There should have been no stuff brought from across the border. That happened. I mean, if I look at the list of OEMs that were there when we first started to today, it's a completely different thing, right? I also think in the startup world, and this is for everyone, including me, don't promise customers, don't overpromise and underdeliver.
Yes.
That leads to confidence of the industry.
So thank you so much for those insights, valuable insights about yourself as a person and about Omega Seiki. And to the audience out there, we come to the end of part 1 of our conversation with Uday on Maxon Mobility. Do wait till for part 2. But till then, take care.